Hey guys, in this video we're going to go over how to use the estimator tool for elk. We're just going to go through some tips and tricks. Just a point of clarification, I already put all the known scores, so this is one of our practice videos. So if you look at the numbers on the calculator, these represent the actual scores for this bull once he was harvested, so we can use them as a point of reference before we go draw any lines. To access the estimator tool, you hit this ... and then hit the estimator with the beta symbol on it. If you've never watched this video before, I highly recommend watching that before using the estimator tool for any species. It goes over some limitations as well as what you need to know before using this tool. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is make your photo keyframes. So what I usually do is kind of scroll the video, see what angles that I'm working with, and see what I have, and then I'll start making my keyframes. And what I mean by that is what I'm looking for is curvature. So take that left fourth point, for example. So you can see that curvature in the fourth point. So ideally, I want to try and draw the line when I can capture that curvature, and I'll use these plus minus frames to go frame by frame. And I'm also looking for where I can best draw anatomicals as well. And for bulls, I like using the eye to nose or the inside of eye to inside of eye. Ear width can be good if you can get the right angle. In this case, let's see if we can get the inside of eye. I could probably get it pretty good right there. And we'll just keep kind of scrolling along. Let me zoom out just a bit. So I'll try and get this side profile shot right here. That's another one I'm going to want to try and use. That head-on view is also an important one. So you're kind of thinking through, you want to, both side profiles if you can get it, which in this case, I don't really get the other side profile. I only get the one in this video. I can kind of get this looking away view. There we go. Perfect. So now I've got quite a few keyframes. You can always add more once you've started too. That tip-up one right there would be a good one because it might help me get the fronts a little bit. Perfect. So we'll hit this estimator tool button once we've made all of our keyframes. So now that we've made all of our keyframes, we're going to go ahead and make an anatomical reference drawing first. That's the first thing you need to do. I could use this inside of eye to inside of eye, or I could use this front of eye to tip of nose. I think we'll go ahead and use that here. We're going to use the front of eye to tip of nose. You want to zoom in quite a bit. And I'm going to cancel this real quick. If you don't know where to draw this, you just click the front of eye to tip of nose, and you can see the reference drawing, as well as you can customize this number if you know it varies a little bit wherever it is that you're hunting. So we're going to come in here and draw this front of eye out to the tip of nose, and then we're going to hit save reference line. So now we have our point of reference. Now we can hit the score values button. You can draw multiple anatomicals if you want. So just to show that real quick, actually, I'm going to go back. So I drew one on the front of eye to tip of nose. Now if I wanted to come up here and do the inside of eye to inside of eye, now it's working off of 2 points of reference. Just try and always be cautious to make sure that you're getting good lines anytime you're drawing them, because these will affect the estimations that it produces. Perfect. So now I've gone ahead and hit the score values, and we can start drawing some points. So right here, for example, it's always great to draw the thirds on a bull elk when he's facing towards you or away from you. Towards you is best because you can see how these points kind of curve. They kind of bend out. So whenever you're at a side profile, you're not capturing all this curvature right here. So this is a great angle to go ahead and draw this right third. So we'll click right third, and then we're going to go up here to the tip of the point. And actually, before I do it, what was the value? So the value was 19 4/8. So that's the actual measurement. So we'll see how close we get. So let's go on the tip of the antler. And whenever you have curvature, you're going to want to drop more points to try and capture that curvature as much as you can. And it's really important when you're using this tool to pay close attention to your first couple of measurements and see how accurate they look. So in this case, we're at 19.34. The reason I say that is if something's off with your anatomical or your scale, if the first one's like 3 or 4 inches higher than you think it should be, then they're all going to be that percentage higher depending on the length of what it is you're measuring. So always use your judgment. Make sure it passes the eye test. So now we can hit the save length to score. We can go over here and do the left one. A lot of times when things look symmetrical, I'll only draw one side, and then I'll go punch the rest of the numbers into the calculator. But since I've got such a good angle of this, we'll go ahead and draw it. And the front's kind of blocking where it comes out, but should be roughly right about there. We'll hit save length to score. And now the next thing I could draw would be the inside spread on this one. I'm just kind of cycling through my photos to see what all I can draw, what are going to be the best angles. Right here I can see the left fourth. I can really capture that curvature of the left fourth. Let's go ahead and draw that one. It looks a little bit shorter than that third, so it should match. And another tip whenever you're using this tool is to always zoom in as much as possible. The more you zoom, the better your points are going to be dropped. Because remember, we're measuring pixels here to get these estimations. It's not an exact science, but the more we can zoom, generally, the better we're going to be. So we'll hit that save length to score. And that came out at 16 inches, which is pretty darn accurate. I can also see the right fourth here pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and draw that right fourth. Boom. I can see it enough to capture the curvature anyways. So you can see I kind of drop it out on that point. That one was a little bit off, so I'll hit this undo last point, only because I went a little bit sideways on the antlers. So you can always undo one point at a time whenever you're drawing. And we'll go down to roughly where it should be coming off the main beam, which is right about there. That one looks to be pretty accurate too. And I'm going to go ahead and leave this frame. I'm going to come over here to this broadside view. And I'm going to try and draw this right P2, which is this point right here. It's a little bit hard for me to make out in this exact frame which P1 is which one's the tip. So we're going to go ahead and draw that right P2, which the actual was 17 4/8. We're going to draw that out. And once again, the fronts, you really need this side profile view because generally they tend to tip upwards, and that's like if you drew this from a front-on perspective, it would come up way short of the actual measurement because you wouldn't be capturing that curvature. That one also looks pretty accurate too. So this is a perfect example of where I can't really tell the P1, so if I wanted to try and get another angle where maybe I could go create another keyframe here. And the first are always kind of hard on a bull elk because they tend to blend together. But like right there, I can see that right P1. I'm going to hit done, so I made a new keyframe, and you can see it looks shorter. So the actual is 14 7/8 on this bull, and it should come up shorter. So if we went and did this right P1, we're going to do the tip, follow it out, and came out at 14.41. So everything's checking out really, really good. One more thing I want to point out, we're going to pull up the video. I will do the main beam on a bull elk, but what you got to remember is you kind of you have to take it from the side. And generally, it's going to come up a little bit short. So if you look at this right main beam, for example, it curves back in. So the tip of that main beam curves back in. I should get pretty close. This bull doesn't have a ton of curvature, but if I'm measuring it from this perspective here on that right main beam, I'm not quite capturing that curvature. Bulls are one of the few animals where you can get relatively close to in the main beam. And usually what I'll do is, so let's take that right main beam, for example, and the actual is 49 inches. So we'll see how close we get to that 49 inches. And you could start out here on the tip. I'm actually going to do a little, let's see if I have a little better. Maybe that one I can make out the burr a little bit better. So we'll do that right main beam there. And I'm going to come right out here to the base. And I'm going to follow as much of this side curvature as I can. Now I am going to miss a little bit of that other curvature. Remember, we're always dealing with 3D objects on a 2D image here, which is one of the primary limitations of using the estimator tool. But I should get relatively close on this, and I can see that line as I'm tracking it out. And 50.24, so that one nailed it, which is awesome. The actual was 49 and something, so that one got pretty darn close. If you do have a main beam that has a lot of swoop to it, that'll get a little bit more distorted. So that's most of the measurements. Now I could obviously continue to draw here. For the sake of the video, I'll cut it off. I could go draw the inside spread. I could draw the remainder of these points. I just want to, the main purpose of this is try and get your drawings when they're the best angle. Take the thirds from the front. Take the fourths kind of from a quartering perspective sometimes, where I can capture that curvature of the fourth. You know, the fifths, a good angle is to try and get almost like a quartered away perspective, but you can see this fifth point right here is kind of growing at me in this frame right here. So that would probably shorten my measurement a little bit, whereas I can get this left one here pretty good. So let's actually draw that one. That'll be the last one, or sorry, the right fifth. That'll be the last one that we do. The actual is 8 6/8 or something like that. So we'll come out here to the tip. I'll keep zooming as much as I need to. And we'll draw that down to where it would come off the main beam, right about there. So it's 9.56 on that one. And always as a reminder, this is not an exact science, guys. You should always use your eye to double check things. And what I mean by that is, whether you do this first or second, that's ultimately up to you. If you want to go put in all your guesses first and then use the estimator tool as another point of reference, or you can use it the other way. You can use the estimator tool first and then go use your eye to double check. I always like to put in most of my guesses first so that I'm working off of my eye, and then I'll come back in here and I'll use our anatomical chart. I'll compare everything. So I'll come down here and let's say those fronts, for example, I'll use that, tip of nose to burr of antlers, 16 to 16 and a half. I've got a bad number in there. I was just showing something, but 16 to 16 and a half. And I'm visually looking at that. And then I can see that the estimator tool spit out, 16 and 4/8 for the right P2, 14 and 3/8 for the right P1. And I'm comparing that burr, and then I'm factoring the curvature in, and I'm making my comparisons. But that's one of the best ways to use the estimator tool, is always in conjunction with your eye. Hopefully this video helps and gives you guys some tips. From an anatomical perspective, just try and use the ones that you think are going to be the most consistent for that bull. The facial measurements are all pretty darn consistent, but once again, it all comes down to angles and trying to get the best angles possible. So thanks for watching. Hope this helped.